This is the introduction to estimating inside My Business Mobile. When selecting the project's menu item, you also now have available estimates. The default estimate items and the default estimates are global estimates that allow you to build as many as you'd like, preset projects, typical projects, maybe sequence of construction, CSI, and other style templates that you can easily pull into a new project while estimating. First thing you can do is to build your list of estimate items, typical things that you use. You can see in my test project here, I've also set up demo and SiteWorks, temporary structures, foundation. I have a number that I assign to them. It's not related to CSI, but you could actually build CSI default estimate items and then pull those in as per project and building your new estimates. So once you've established a few of these, to add a new one is very simple. We can name this, say 000 design. I don't have a dollar amount, it's just a typical item. I could begin to list what would be included in the design and so on. And now this particular item, design, is available as one of my default estimate items. Once you've gone in and created these, I've added a few for perhaps a company that has service calls. Here's an emergency hot water heater, a service call, and so on. And then you can go back to your default estimate. And I've gone ahead and added a few in here. One was the emergency hot water heater. Here's the estimate. And now it needs to have an estimate item assigned to it. We're going ahead, you have two options. You can assign a new item from your default estimate items, or you can add a new one and copy it as one of the global items that would show up all the time. But since we had made one here for emergency hot water heater, I'm just going to include it. I had already priced for a Sterling manufacturer, a 40-gallon, $1,500 would be my install price on a typical emergency hot water heater, 40-gallon replacement. So now that default estimate is ready. So we can go back to our list now and let's examine a bathroom briefly. Bathroom here, I included a number of items that you typically find in a bathroom. I did not include design in this, so let's go ahead and add a new one called design. And you can see here now the design is here, and that has now been saved in the default estimate. So for example, if I go back to my view projects, and let's look at pending. I have a test bathroom project. I now have a new tab called estimate, and I have that estimate added to my project already. I can open that up. And you can see here, since I had created this prior to adding a design to the default, I now can go back to estimate. Let's go ahead and add that default estimate. It's a copy from my default estimate, so I'll select this checkbox. And I will go to my bathroom and submit. Now I have two bathroom estimates that are part of this particular contract. However, I need to open which one I want to use. This one has the design in it already, and I can copy it and leave all my existing expense items in my contract, or I can copy and delete. And since I want to replace all the items on this contract, I'm going to say copy and delete. It immediately takes me to the contract, and I now have the estimate installed, including the design. Now if I add I open this and I add a cost to it. Let's say it's $1,000. That adjusts the cost of the expense items that I'm using to build my contract. But if I go back to the estimate, it does not affect the estimate that I brought in. If I want it to affect that estimate that I brought back in, I now can go back to the contract and I can say copy contract to a project estimate. And if I go back to my estimates, I now have 3 in here. So I never affect the original estimate that came from my global default estimate. If I do want to affect that, I need to go back to the global default and adjust those items. Now, upon opening the test estimate for this particular, if I found that I really liked this estimate and I wanted to now have that as an option when building new projects, you can edit the estimate info, select global, assign a trend type, residential renovations I have as default. I have another bathroom, and when I submit, if I go back to my estimates, I now have a test bathroom project which I had built on my specific project, but since I like the estimate, I added it to my global default. That's the introduction to estimating.